So my name is Sharon Beers. I work in both the study abroad office as well as the Office of Scholarships and Student Aid. And I've been at UNC for a little over 9 years now. And I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity during my undergraduate experience to study abroad in Athens, Greece. So I'm really excited that you're here this morning, and I'm really excited to talk about funding for study abroad and how to make study abroad a reality given the different financial constraints and program costs. This session is being recorded. I will stop recording when I'm done presenting to hopefully save a little bit of time for any questions that you all might have. So hopefully you've been attending Study Abroad Week and have had the opportunity to attend some other sessions really going into the different types of programs that are available through the Study Abroad office. But I just wanted to highlight this briefly from a financial aid perspective, or a financial perspective. So there's a lot of different types of programs that the Study Abroad office offers. And one thing to keep in mind is that typically exchange programs can tend to be a little bit more affordable. And that's because with an exchange program, just your tuition and fees, those are identical to what they would be at UNC. So you would be charged the same amount for whatever host institution that you're attending with a particular exchange program that you would be charged to your UNC. You might see that other expenses are quite different, estimates for things depending on the geographic region that you're studying abroad in. But again, just the tuition and fee piece is identical. And so that's why exchange programs can be something you might want to focus on when you're looking at different program options. And what I really want to spend a lot of time covering is how much it will cost, and again, what funding is available for you for the different opportunities. So I'm talking about semester programs as well as summer programs, since you might be interested in both. And so I want to highlight information that talks about each of those, since they do operate a little bit differently. So on the Study Abroad Office website, when you're looking at different programs and sort of researching your options and trying to figure out which program might be the best fit for you academically, I want you to also think about programs from a financial fit as well. And so within their website, again, on every brochure page, there is a section that says costs and scholarships. And so you'll want to navigate there pretty quickly so you can get an idea for how much a program totals. What is the grand total of a study abroad program? And how does that compare to your semester here at UNC? I want to talk about semester and summer expenses at UNC so that you can then compare program expenses to that. So if you're an in-state student looking at a fall or spring semester study abroad program, it can be a really good baseline or foundation to know that typically a semester at UNC is a little over $12,000. If you're an out-of-state student, typically a semester is around $26,000, a little bit more. And these figures are based on this current academic year, so they might change or will likely change a little bit for next year, just something to keep in mind. And then for summer programs, so for semester at UNC, for a single summer session, if you're taking 3 credits or 6 credits as an in-state student, typically your summer cost of attendance is around $3,200 to $4,500 or so. And as an out-of-state student, if you're attending one summer session, taking either 3 to 6 credit hours, you're looking at around $4,000 to $6,500. Again, those are all UNC expenses, but that's a baseline so that when you start to look at your study abroad program, total cost of attendance, you can figure out, is this program more expensive? Is it less expensive? And what's the difference between, again, a semester abroad or a semester at UNC? And I want you to start thinking about those things ahead of time so that you can really start to figure out how you might plan to pay for your program, or again, what different funding might help cover expenses. I've included a budget here for the fall semester exchange program for King's College London. As you can see, the tuition and fees are exchanged, so they would be identical to what you would be charged at UNC Chapel Hill. You'll see that the total at the bottom is a little over $17,000. So you might be wondering, well, why is it so much more expensive if it's an exchange program? And this is because London is a more expensive city to study abroad in. Geographically, the cost of living is simply higher. And so the study abroad office builds in a lot of estimates that will be very real expenses to you, but those won't be owed to UNC directly. So the top portion of every budget sheet has a billable subtotal. Sometimes that's referred to as a cashier billed expense subtotal. That's what's going to be charged to your UNC student account. While the bottom portion, that non-billable subtotal or out-of-pocket estimate, those are again expenses that will be real to you, but that you won't owe to UNC directly. So for this program, you can see that housing is estimated much higher than it would be here in Chapel Hill. And again, it's just because it's a more expensive city. So I included this budget again to sort of give you a feel for how to look at the study abroad office budgets. And when you're ultimately comparing the total cost of attendance for a study abroad program versus the total cost of attendance for a UNC program, you want to look at that very bottom portion that I've highlighted, the grand total. So in this instance, if you were an in-state student looking at this exchange program in London, you would see that it's about $5,000 more expensive. So your next question might be, well, how do I plan to cover that gap, or what does that look like as far as funding is concerned? So I'm going to talk a little bit about how financial aid can potentially help cover expenses. So for semester-long programs, what can be really great is that your regular financial aid that you've been offered for a semester at UNC can be applied to your study abroad expenses. So that can really help cover a significant portion of your study abroad program. The only exception to that is federal work-study funding, and that's because you won't be here on campus or in the States to participate in the federal work-study program. So if you are a Carolina Covenant Scholar, that funding is converted into additional grant dollars. And if you're not a Carolina Covenant Scholar, that funding is converted into additional loan eligibility for you. So again, semester-long programs can be a really great place to start because all of the grants, scholarships that you've been offered for your regular UNC semester can be applied to your study abroad semester. If a semester-long program for the fall or spring is more expensive, like we just looked at that King's College London program, the Office of Scholarships and Student Aid has additional loan eligibility to offer you. Certainly, you're not required to borrow it, but it would simply be available to you should you find that you might need it to help cover some expenses. If you happen to pick a less expensive program, this can be a little bit more common for our out-of-state students because a semester at UNC is a little over $26,000, whereas a lot of the study abroad programs are less expensive than that. So if you find a less expensive program, your financial aid package might also be adjusted, but the Office of Scholarships and Student Aid does that in a way that's as beneficial as possible. So they reduce loans, trying to preserve as much grant funding as possible for you. Summer programs are a little bit different. So for summer programs, the Office of Scholarships and Student Aid typically only has loan eligibility to offer to students. And that's simply because we just don't have the same level of scholarships and grants that we do during the fall and spring semesters. One thing to keep in mind, if you are currently receiving the federal Pell Grant, that is prorated, meaning a small portion can be awarded to you for a summer program, but it's a lot less than what you received during the fall and spring semesters. So to give an example, if you're receiving around $6,000 in your federal Pell Grant right now, you'd be eligible for a little less than $1,000 for a summer study abroad program. So certainly every dollar helps, but you wouldn't want to rely just on the Pell Grant to cover full summer expenses. Occasionally, the Office of Scholarships and Student Aid has had a little bit of grant and scholarship dollars available for study abroad, but it's never guaranteed, and we usually don't know until March or so. Summer applications are due February 10th, so I never want you to rely on grant funding that we don't know that we have. So it's really best to just count on potential loan eligibility, and again, maybe a little bit of that federal Pell Grant. So more importantly and more beneficially, I want to talk about other scholarship and funding opportunities. So again, the Office of Scholarships typically just has loan eligibility to offer for more expensive programs or for summer programs. But the Study Abroad Office has a lot of great scholarships available through their office. So there are between 40 and 50 different funds They do have a varying degree of eligibility requirements. So some funds require that students have financial need based upon your FAFSA. That's the free application for federal student aid. Some of the funds really have priority or preference for North Carolina residents or even students from certain counties. So there's a really wide variety of what the scholarship dollars are geared towards. And the awards can range between $500 to, I've seen $7,000 and more be awarded through these 40 to 50 different scholarship funds. So I absolutely 100% hands down recommend indicating your interest for these scholarships on your study abroad program application. So there's no separate application for study abroad scholarships. Within your regular program application for summer or for fall or for spring, there's a question that asks, hey, do you want to be considered for study abroad office scholarships? Definitely raise your hand for that, check yes. And then there's typically just a short answer question, 250 words or less, that asks a little bit more from you. So I certainly think it's worth taking the time to do that because, again, there's just a lot of different funds available, a lot of different amounts, and a lot of different parameters. And so you might happen to meet those and be awarded a scholarship. Scholarships can help cover the costs, that grand total of study abroad programs. So they can be a really great way to help cover the gap if a program's more expensive, or especially to really help cover summer study abroad programs. In addition to study abroad office scholarships, I also just want to highlight some other funding opportunities. So there are outside scholarships available to you, and you can search through different databases, but two that I really want to highlight because we've had a lot of UNC students receive these. One is the Gilman Scholarship. I'm really excited. We're offering a session later today at 12:30 about the Gilman Scholarship. It goes in depth, really covering what it is, and it's even a workshop if you have any questions about what they're looking for in terms of their essays. So we have a student who's leading that who has received the Gilman. Again, lots of UNC students have received the Gilman, so I highly recommend checking out that session. This scholarship awards up to $5,000. And it's specifically for students who are currently receiving the federal Pell Grant. So that is one of their main criteria. So it is a need-based scholarships, again, for students who currently receive the Pell Grant. But it can be just such a large amount. Again, it can be so helpful in covering summer expenses as well as fall and spring expenses. Another organization that has outside scholarship dollars available to students studying abroad is Fund for Education Abroad. Their scholarship amounts are typically a little bit lower. I've seen $500 to $1,000, but again, every dollar can help cover expenses, so it still might be worth checking out. They usually do prioritize students with financial need. There's also partner provider scholarships. So earlier I mentioned the different types of programs that the Study Abroad Office offers, and I highlighted that exchange programs can be more of an affordable option. There are partner provider programs. These tend to be more expensive, but they know that they're more expensive, and so they do offer specific scholarships for students participating in their specific programs. So for instance, there are programs that are run through SIT, and so SIT has very specific scholarship dollars for their program. So if you are participating in in a partner provider program, I definitely recommend checking out the scholarships for those programs. And then finally, scholarship databases. There's a funding finder on Embark Carolina that can be a great place to start. There's also College Board has a good search database, as well as FastWeb. So those are just some other opportunities, other ways that you can look for resources to help cover some of your study abroad expenses, whether, again, you're looking in the summer or you're looking in the fall or spring. I'm going to stop recording in just a moment, but I wanted to provide my email address. So if you do have any specific questions about financial aid or specific questions about study abroad office scholarships or any of the information that I've covered in this session today, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help however I can. And my email is provided right here, fa_studyabroad@unc.edu. Thanks so much for joining. And I am working on stopping recording so that I can help answer any questions that y'all might have.